Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils take the series from the Marlins, but Trea Turner's hamstring injury casts a dark cloud over the remainder of the season. How long will he be out, and how big of a deal is it going to be?
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the past 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing if you're listening to us in podcast form. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts, but you can also watch us on YouTube. And if you're doing that, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button when you see videos that you like. It'll get you notifications when new episodes come out. When you hit that subscribe button, it's free and easy. It really helps you out. It helps us out. So I appreciate everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to do that. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So go ahead and check out our friends there. Obviously, we're going to lead off with the Trea Turner hamstring injury that occurred in the final game of the series down in Miami against the Marlins. That's a big-time issue for the Phillies. We're going to discuss what they can do to mitigate it, if they can overcome this, and how long the thought process is on when he could be out. So not ideal, especially this late in the season. It's a big problem. We're also going to talk about something that has become not just baseball news, like national news over the weekend. The Phillies fan that took a home run ball from a kid whose dad rightfully got it, and the ensuing saga that has taken over just social media and Philadelphia sports fan circles and everything like that. I'll give you my thoughts on that because everyone seems to want to have an opinion on this. I will share mine. And of course, we got to preview a monster matchup with the Mets. 4 games at the bank. The Phillies could put the nail in the coffin of the NL East, or they could drive us deeper down into the dark depths of insanity if we see more of what we saw in New York. But let's start with Trea Turner, because the Phillies had a nice weekend, right? They win 2 of 3 down in Miami against the Marlins. Exactly what you needed. I said it was a trap series. They did not fall into the trap. They had a chance to win yesterday. Taijuan Walker wasn't great, and he put the Phillies behind the 8 ball. And even then, credit to the Phillies. They could have just packed it in. They made it a game. They lost 5-4. But a little bit of a fight back for the Phillies. Unfortunately, they didn't finish off the comeback. And in the 7th inning, Trea Turner hits a ground ball. He's running it out to first base. It was an overthrow. And next thing you know, Trea Turner's just gone. And he's just walking down the dugout steps. He pulled himself out of the game immediately. Like as soon as he crossed first base, he just turns. Now, he didn't look like he pulled up lame or anything, right? Like he just ran through the bag and immediately turned and like made some gestures saying like, yo, I'm done, and just went right to the clubhouse. So clearly he felt something immediately with the hamstring, which is what ended up being the reported injury. Has some type of hamstring issue. Now, it's a different hamstring than the one he had last year. I think last year was the left and this one's the right, or vice versa. But either way, it's not the hamstring that took him out for about a month of the 2024 season. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess that would potentially be a good thing because it's not a re-injury of a previous issue. And if one of your first thoughts is, hey, he's on a long-term deal with this team, if he starts to become injury prone, what does that mean for what that contract looks like? Again, just like the Nola thing, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Nola, by the way, getting the ball tonight against the Mets. So maybe take a peek at the over if you're betting on this game. But anyway, I'm not worried about the future of Trea Turner. I'm worried about the immediacy of the Philadelphia Phillies. He might be their most indispensable player. Zach Wheeler was obviously their most indispensable pitcher. He's done for the year. You could make a strong case for Kyle Schwarber. And that's probably who I would pick. But there's also a case to be made for Trea Turner. And here's why. I love what JT Realmuto has done in the second half of this season. I really like what Harrison Bader has brought to this team. I know that when Alec Boehm is going, he can be an impact bat. But as far as right-handed bats in the lineup go, there's one guy with an elite ceiling, and that is Trea Turner. He's a huge balance to Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber at the top of the lineup. And not having him for any lengthy period of time is a major, major issue. Not only that, there's a chance that this could be, I don't know, a month? And if it is, starting the postseason without Trea Turner, this team would be in dire straits. They cannot afford to lose him for more than like a week or two. Now, we don't know. He's getting an MRI today. And Trey said that it does seem like he's going to miss a couple of games, but we don't know how much. Rob Thompson said after the game, there's some concern. That's the way that he kind of worded it. There's some concern there, is what he said. We don't know, so we got to wait for him to get the MRI and get the imaging back. But think about all the stuff that falls apart if Trea Turner is not in the lineup for this team. You change the dynamic of the top three guys. So Kyle Schwarber, who has been incredible batting second for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, would probably have to shift up to the leadoff spot. Now, I think there's something else the Phillies could potentially do there, but you move that around. And then do you shift Bryce Harper up? And then if you do that, well, then your 3 and 4 hole guys are going to be guys that don't really have the power of those power spots in the lineup. The power is supplied on the Philadelphia Phillies pretty much by one man, but I'll throw Bryce Harper in there too because we know he's Bryce Harper. But that's the thing. You've got to now kind of workshop who your leadoff hitter is going to be. If you make it Schwarber, you do cut down on his RBI potential. Now, the Phillies have won a lot of games with Kyle Schwarber batting leadoff. But if this version of Trea Turner is the version you're getting, he's a way better option. And obviously, you don't have him, at least for right now, and we'll see for how long. So if Schwarber moves into the leadoff, the lineup gets shorter. You got to do some wonky stuff with who bats where. I saw a couple theories, and we talked about this on the radio this morning, so I'll bring them here to the podcast. Someone brought up Bryson Stott potentially batting leadoff. He's been much, much better lately. He puts together great at-bats. He sees a bunch of pitches, but he works in a leadoff spot if Trea Turner's batting second or third. Lefty, lefty, lefty at 1, 2, 3 makes Schwarber, Harper, and Stott much easier to attack. Now, I know Schwarber's been awesome against lefties this year, but I don't want 3 lefties at the top of the lineup. I don't know that that's a reliable thing to do for the long term. Here's a little off-the-wall idea for you. If Turner misses like a couple weeks, I would really think about Harrison Bader batting leadoff for this team. Tell me where the weak spot is. He's been showing off some pop, but he's got great athleticism. I think he puts together really solid at-bats. And while the average isn't where Trea Turner's is, when he gets on base, he's clearly, Bader that is, fast enough to create havoc on the base pass, right? Trea Turner light, maybe, I guess you could kind of say for Harrison Bader in a short time with the Phillies. Now, the worry is bigger role, different type of approach by pitchers. If you're batting leadoff, does Harrison Bader look like the same guy we've seen? If the Phillies just say, hey, yeah, you're getting in the leadoff spot, you're our new Trea Turner. I don't know if that works out. You know what the ideal scenario is? Trea Turner. But if he's not available, the Phillies are going to have a really hard time putting together consistent offense, right? That's where Harper's going to have to step up. He hasn't had his best year. I don't think he's had a bad year, but he hasn't had his best year. Kyle Schwarber's going to have to step up. Outside of that 4 home run game that he had against the Atlanta Braves, like you're looking at a situation where he has been quiet recently. And I'd like to see Schwarber get onto one of those tears, especially if Turner is out. And then the bottom part of the lineup is going to just have to pick it up a little bit because there will be guys, mainly Edmundo Sosa, who are asked to be big parts of this team. Now, I got some comments when I was worried about Trea Turner in the reaction video yesterday to the game. Edmundo Sosa stepped up big in the month that Trea Turner was out last year. Why would you not believe that he's going to be able to do that again? And if you know anything about me, you know I love Edmundo Sosa. I think he's an awesome player, especially in a depth role, like luxury for the Philadelphia Phillies. But here's the thing. The Trea Turner that Edmundo Sosa covered for last year was not the Trea Turner that you've been getting this year. This year's Trea Turner is like near all MLB shortstop level play. I'm talking about the full package, not fielding. I know fielding, whatever. But last year, Trea Turner was like all-star-ish level. This year was even better, like unbelievable. You were getting the Trea Turner that you paid for probably the first full time in his career with the Phillies. And Edmundo Sosa, while he's been solid in relief of guys and filling in, he can't become that, I don't think. And the other thing, too, that when Turner went down last year was what, June or July? This is September. If it's a month now, you're talking playoff time. And guess what? Trea Turner isn't just going to roll out of bed and be a 300 hitter with some pop and legs are going to feel great and everything as soon as he comes back. There's a readjustment period of not seeing live major league pitching for a period of days, weeks, however long it's going to be. So I want him back obviously a week or two before the postseason so we can start to figure some stuff out. And even that's not ideal. So we're hoping, I think best case scenario is 10-day injured list stint for Trea Turner. He comes back in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then you get him for like the final week of the season. And we roll with that. And he's just going to have to get hot again for when October rolls around. But it is not an ideal scenario. We are all fingers crossed, hoping for the best. The Phillies have dodged a lot of bullets this year. They did not dodge the Zach Wheeler one. And you got to hope that they're able to dodge the Trea Turner one. Because if they don't have him for the postseason and they don't have Zach Wheeler, that's two of your top, 5 players this year? Maybe less than that. 2 of your top, maybe 3 or 4 players this year. It can't happen. It's going to be too tough for them to overcome. So cross your fingers, say your prayers that Trea Turner is okay, because losing him would be one of the 2 biggest players you could ill afford to lose between him and Schwarber, and it may have just happened. So we'll keep you updated on what we hear. MRI this afternoon, so we'll get the information before the game, and we'll also keep an eye on how Rob Thompson builds out this lineup. Regardless of the absence of Trea Turner, how long it is, he's going to have to get creative. He's been pretty good at it lately, but he's got a big spot to get creative too. So later on in the episode, we're going to talk about the Mets series in more detail and how some guys need to step up with Trea Turner unavailable right now. But coming up next, the story that everybody's been talking about, not just Phillies fans, no, baseball fans, sports fans, the woman that took a foul ball from a young fan, literally out of his glove down in Miami, has gone crazy viral. I'll share my thoughts on the incident, the fallout, the reaction of Phillies fans as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Monarch Money first, though, because they are the absolute best. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or maybe even investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone so you can take it with you when you go. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. And don't we all have busy lives? If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch's for you. They're going to do the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel like you're in control of your money without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. I don't want to go into Excel and build something myself, and that's why Monarch Money is the best. If you're sitting there wondering, where's my paycheck going every month? Why does it feel like my money keeps disappearing? They can help you figure out where it's going, where it should be, and where it shouldn't be. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. We got to talk about this. The woman that has now been named Phillies fan Karen. If you didn't see it, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but in Miami, in the second game of the series, so it was the Saturday game, I believe, right? Harrison Bader hits a home run to left field. The ball lands in the stands, but because nobody goes to Marlins games, it's kind of like rolling around in the seats for a little bit. This guy runs over from another part of the section, picks up the ball, goes back, gives it to his son. Great, right? Totally normal. Glad that kid got a home run ball. Kid was excited. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden, this lady makes a beeline from where the ball was hit, which was only like 10 to 12 seats away, grabs the guy on the arm, basically starts a confrontation, argues that it was her ball because it was hit over towards where she was sitting, and then takes the ball out of the kid's glove and goes back to her part of the section. Now, this is a grown woman. So I'd understand one thing if it was like, I don't know, a little kid had a chance to get the ball, and then the dad of the other kid got it, and then the other parent came over and was like, yo, I took that ball for my kid. I know you want to get it for your child, but like, come on. But no, this was all fair game to everybody except for this lady who lost it. And apparently then she was arguing with other fans in the stands because people were calling her out after she did that, saying, yo, like, are you serious? Kid gets a ball and you're over there as a grown woman fighting him for it. And the Marlins made it right by sending a gift package out to the kid during the game. After the game, the Phillies invited him down to the tunnel. Harrison Bader signed a bat, took some time to talk to the kid and his family. Great job by the Phillies and Marlins for making sure that this was made right. But that's not where the story ends. Oh, no. It's 2025. And everybody goes to social media and tries to figure out who this lady is and has an opinion on what should happen to her. She should be fired. She should be banned from games. She should be thrown in jail. She should lose everything. And I understand, right? The outrage when you see someone do something that you think is just flat out wrong. And what she did was flat out wrong. Like, absolutely. Does she deserve to be chastised online? Yes, right. Within reason. It is still a baseball and a baseball game. So anyone who's taking it like too far, personal affronts and stuff like that, take a deep breath. All right. Get off your high horse. She didn't punch the kid in the face. She took a baseball and the kid had it made right. It was a bad move and she was 100% in the wrong, in my opinion. But then we have a bunch of people trying to figure out who she is and where she works, trying to get her fired and all of this stuff. Here's the thing, right? And this is my standing on it. So if you disagree and you want to handle it a different way, I suppose as a member of the internet, you have the right to react how you want to, as long as you're not like hurling like death threats or crossing the line. Like if you feel the need to go further than I do on this, go for it. But sometimes we are in the right to say, hey, that was wrong and you need to own up to it. But then we take things too far. Like at this point, I'm surprised that this has become as big of a story as it has been. Sure, the lady was wrong and she looked crazy in doing so. And it was very typical of like what you expect one of those interactions to be when they go viral on the internet and sports talk and everything. We talked about it on the radio this morning. A bunch of people have talked about it already over the weekend on social media. At the end of the day, though, I don't need her like doxed. If you don't know what the term doxed is, it's basically like someone from the internet or some random person ends up in a video or something that goes viral, and you have to figure out all of their information, who they are, where they're from, what they do, so that their actions end up having repercussions on their personal life. Now, if somebody who employs this woman sees that video and they decide, yo, this is not a person that we want representing our company, that's their decision. But that's up to the company. Like, I don't need people trying to ruin this woman's life over this. Is she a good person? I don't know. I don't know her personally. Did she act like a good person in this instance? No, she did not. But in that instance, doing something like that, that's not enough of an affront to be like, oh, okay, well, you need to just absolutely nuke this woman's life. I'm not going to say poor woman's life because she created the situation for herself. So where I would recommend that Phillies fans and Philadelphia media and media in general and people on social media leave this is, you see this person in this video, don't be this person. That's a terrible way to act. She should be ashamed of herself. Why can't we just leave it at that? Why does it have to then be, I need to see her pay? See, you know what? Maybe this is just a personal thing for me. And this is where we're getting into the philosophy of life, which I know it's a baseball podcast, but because this is a big Philly story and literally everybody has not stopped talking about it, I couldn't let it go by without it being mentioned on the podcast, because I'm sure a lot of you have been like having your thoughts on it and everything and making your commentary on it. And that's fine. You have the right to express your opinion. It's a beautiful thing. But for me, like, when you see something wrong, you point out something wrong. As long as there's no bodily harm or major emotional damage or something that comes from the incident, and nobody was injured or anything like that, that kid's life isn't ruined. In fact, I think the kid made out pretty well, all things considered, but it doesn't make what she did right. Say it's wrong, point out it's wrong, say what they could have done better, move on. I don't need penalties, right? Public shame is enough, and public shame within reason. So that's where I stand on the whole home run, stealing the ball from the kid situation that happened in Miami over the weekend. Again, I know people are still going to go after this woman and continue to. I am not the leading voice of the Philadelphia fan base, right? As much as sometimes I would like to speak on behalf of the fan base, I know that you all have your own opinions. And I'm not trying to get you to be a certain type of person or a certain type of fan. But I think some people have gone too far with it. I think it's about time we kind of just let this one, let it be. Obviously, she's faced enough backlash from this, I believe. And then we move on with the actual baseball portion of what we talk about when it comes to the Phillies. And just a disclaimer, it's not that hard to be a good person. It's not that hard to understand the baseball rights of foul balls and home runs and when you should go after a ball and when maybe you should let a kid get a ball or whatever. Like, it's not difficult. You can do it. Some people get caught up in the moment. Some people are just bad people. And I don't know what the proper thing is because I don't know the lady personally, but that's where I stand on all of this. So, man, even when it's not on the field, there's always something to talk about when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies and Philadelphia sports in general. Part of that's a passionate fan base that cares about everything. And sometimes things may be for a little too long, a little too much. Coming up next, you should care about this. We might care about this for a very long time. The Phillies play the Mets. 4 games, trying to make up for the sweep that happened at Citi Field just a couple weeks ago. And man, do they need it. But what happens if they do get it? Is it the end of the division? I'll make the case as to why as we wrap up today's episode. Let's talk about Zippix first, though. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks, and whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. The flavors are great. The energy boost is nice to have. Maybe if that lady at the Phillies game this weekend would have had one of the Zippix energy toothpicks, she would have had the energy to get the foul ball on her or the home run ball on her own. But unfortunately, she didn't. You don't want to end up viral. That's why you got to get Zippix to make sure you're ready to roll. And the taste is great. The flavors are really like they're not overpowering, but you can tell what the flavors are. So it's a very enjoyable experience to try them. And it gives you the good boost that you need to get through busy days. It's a busy time of the year, busy time of the sports calendar. Everybody needs that extra boost. And that's why you got to go to ZippixToothpicks.com. Zippix spelled Zippix. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's ZippixToothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Big time series at Citizens Bank Park between the Phillies and the New York Mets. No parabolic microphones, no excuses. The Phillies need to come out and have a infinitely better showing than what they did against the Mets at Citi Field. They got swept. They got their teeth kicked in. They got sunned. The Mets looked at them and said, you know what's going to happen? You're going to come into our building, and we are going to whoop you tonight and tomorrow night and the next night, and you're going to go home questioning your sanity, the quality of your team, and everything in between. That cannot happen again. And it certainly cannot happen at Citizens Bank Park. Now, Trea Turner being out, it's a big blow. It is. If it was different circumstances, let's say this was a series against the Dodgers, who the Phillies have coming up, I'd have a different opinion on it, right? Trea's out. He may be back soon. We'll get information on that, but it's tough to expect them to be at their best when one of their best players just got hurt. But no. You do not get that grace against the New York Mets in this situation. You just got punked in their building, and now they're coming to yours. Now, there are a couple of Phillies-Mets theories that we've gone through over the course of the past year and a half, right? The first one, here's just like the quick abbreviated timeline of this Phillies-Mets rivalry in the modern time. Last year, London series happens. Whatever. No big deal. Mets aren't that good of a team. Phillies are really good. You split the series in London. Okay. No big deal. Then the rest of the year, the Phillies are slowly fading while the Mets are coming on strong. Phillies still win the division, but the next thing you know, it's like, that Mets team, they've been playing good baseball. The Phillies, they were heading in the opposite direction. Then the Mets knock them out in the postseason, and all of a sudden they become the Phillies boogeyman. Man, that team really? And you spend all offseason thinking about it. And then you see them up at Citi Field earlier this year, and you get swept. And immediately the fan base loses their minds, and rightfully so. It was early in the year, but that can't happen. They just knocked you out. Where's your pride? Where's your gall? But the Phillies didn't have it. Then you play them at the bank. 3-game series, and the Phils take 2 of 3. Hey, okay, good. Little bounce back. Maybe this team's starting to figure it out this year. Maybe not so much beating the Mets-wise, but just in general, it was a time of the year where the Phillies were playing better baseball. You could reason that. It wasn't enough to say, see, we can beat this team consistently, but it was enough to say, hey, it's possible. And then the Phillies are playing great baseball when they roll into Citi Field, and they get absolutely smoked by a team in the Mets that had been floundering since the trade deadline. And just like that, the goodwill of the 2 games won at Citizens Bank Park is out the window. So the theory goes to, this Phillies team, they might just not be built for the moment. What did they do? But they followed it up with a series win against the Atlanta Braves, a series win over the Miami Marlins this weekend, a series win in between to a team that for some reason I cannot think of right now. Were those the only 2 series? They might have been the only 2 series. Anyway, they haven't lost the series since that series against the Mets where they got swept. That's a great thing, right? You really do love to see them bounce back like that. And it's what they did before. They won 5 straight series following that sweep at Citi Field before this season, or earlier in the season, I mean. So now the theory is just, okay, maybe it's not that they're not built for the moment because they can beat other good baseball teams. And it's not that they're not capable of beating the Mets because they won a series against the Mets earlier this year. Is it just they can't play at Citi Field? So if you take 3 of 4, or heck, even if you split and just split 2 games apiece in this series, the theory now becomes, well, the Phillies just can't play at Citi Field, but if they get the Mets at the bank, well, I like their chances. That could be the narrative coming out of this, and I wouldn't be mad at that because even if they win all 4, right, and sweep the Mets, you're still scared of Citi Field, I think, if you're a logical fan. Or maybe that's not logic, but I think that's a normal reaction. So a lot on the line for the Philadelphia Phillies in this series for what the psyche of the fan base is, the sanity. And here's the thing, right? In the grand scheme of things, the Phillies, their magic number is down to 13 for the NL East. They are 7 games up on the Mets. If they lose all 4, they're still 3 games up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 series left to play. One of those against the Twins, one of those against the Marlins, one of those against the 500 Diamondbacks. You got the Dodgers in there, but you can still see a path to winning the division, right? And you're still going to be favored to win the division. So I'm not advocating for that being okay. No, that is not okay. But it's not going to cost you the division. So really what this is just like a kind of psyche check for the fan base, a sanity series, which is what my coworker Andrew Salchunas called it on Kincaid and Salchunas this morning. Tonight, probably not a great spot for the sanity series because Aaron Nola's on the mound. He's been awful this year. Nolan McLean's on the mound. He's been awesome since being called up recently by the Mets and looked really good against the Phillies in that final game of the series up at Citi Field. So do I feel good about tonight's game? No. Do I expect Aaron Nola to have a great start? No. Good? No. Serviceable? No. Bad? Yes. That is my expectation. And that's what Aaron Nola has earned us to expect this year. So game one, not great. Sanchez throws, Ranger throws. You've got opportunities to take 2 games and just get out with a split. And that may sound defeatist. You might say, well, Connor, you're the better team, right? You say that all the time. So shouldn't you expect 3 out of 4? Probably. But I'm in a needs category at this point in the season. And I do not need the Phillies to beat the Mets 3 games out of 4. I need them to win 2 of these games. And I need them to look like they belong on the field with this damn Mets team. How they do it, style points, they are going to matter to me in this series. If they can win tonight, oh boy, let's cook. Because I think games 2 and 3 are going to be the ones that the Phillies have the best shot at in this series. Tonight, I don't want to say bonus baseball because no. We're going to lose our minds tomorrow if they lose to the Mets again. But just remember, okay, the division should still be theirs. Your sanity, that might be a little bit tougher to find a hold on if they do not have a strong outing against the Mets. Last time you'll see them before the postseason if you do run into them in October. So time to put up or shut up, Phils. You want to end this narrative? You've got an opportunity tonight. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. We will discuss, obviously, the big game with the Mets tomorrow and take a look at everything that happened. There will be a Trea Turner update, so we will have reaction to that. So a lot to get into. This is a huge week for the Phils. Every week's a huge week as we reach the kind of middle point of September. So make sure you're locked in on Locked On Phillies. Once again, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that helps us out and helps you stay up to date on all the big Phillies news. And I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.